Hello, welcome. My name is SlugMTG, and today we are going to go over the third round of Mason Knopp's Pauper Creators Tournament, and this time I am up against Satan Raken, or Kalikaiz, as he is known on YouTube. As always, I am using Aristocratos, and a link to the decklist will be in the description below, as well as a picture on the screen here. Unfortunately, I was not able to voice chat with Kalikaiz during this, so we will be going over the replay of our match. And if you are unfamiliar with Kalikaiz, then his channel is full of more competitive Pauper, I would say. Plays in challenges, plays in leagues, and I will say playing quite the homebrew deck during our match. But if you want to check out more of the competitive side of Pauper, then I would highly recommend checking him out. A link to his channel will be in the description down below, as well as if he posts our match from his side, then our match will also be in the description down below. But without further ado, let's go into the first game and see how it goes. So starting off with the first game, I do believe I win the dice roll, so I decided to go first, and this is my first opening hand. I believe I do keep this because black is my main color, and I can play everything that I have in my hand. So I figured it could be a lot worse, and I don't want to find out how bad it can get. Unfortunately for Satan, he does mulligan down to 5, so it's kind of ironic because we both started by wishing each other good luck. But I start off playing a swamp, followed up by a mortician beetle. So get Morty out there, and then Satan plays an island and then Ash Barrens for a snow-covered forest. So I do see snow-covered, a little worried about that, but then I see blue and green. So I'm not expecting Turbo Fog, but it always is at the back of my mind. But I swing in for 1 with Morty, and then to be efficient with my mana, I just go ahead and play the Sultai Emissary and pass turn. So plays the forest and then plays the abundant growth onto the forest. Probably, maybe should have done it on the island, but I mean, if his plan was just to preordain, then it doesn't matter in the first place. Preordains, then passes back to me, and I draw Mog War Marshal, which I don't have a red source at the moment, but I do have Village Rights in hand, so I can draw. I just go ahead and swing in with both those guys for 2. I play the Mortician Beetle, and then I keep up Village Rights and pass turn. Since I do see blue, there is a really good argument to be made to Village Rights during my turn. That way, Satan doesn't leave up a counterspell, and then I just sacrifice a creature for nothing. But I don't do that. So apparently I thought baiting out the counter was more important than drawing cards. Don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but either way, that is the decision I choose to make. And so I go ahead and Village Rights. And even if this is countered, I do get a lot of value from this, which doesn't get countered, but Satan does abrade one of my Mortician Beetles, so that goes away. But I do get to get 2 2/2s and draw 2 cards, which is still pretty good value. So here I just go ahead and play the Bloodfell Caves. I'm not looking to play the Fleshbag Marauder this turn, so I don't have to play the Swamp to get it out. And then I just go ahead and play the Perilous Mirror and pass back. Satan just plays a Thriving Isle, plays a second Abrade, getting rid of my other poor Mortician Beetle, and passes it back to me. So I pull a Sultai Emissary, I swing in for 3, bring Satan down to 10, and then I play the Sultai Emissary, followed by the Mog War Marshal. And I'm starting to get a pretty big board state. Satan plays a Core Skyfisher, bounces back the Abundant Growth, and then plays and cracks the Evolving Wilds for a snow-covered island and passes back to me. And that's 2 blue untapped, so I'm worried about a counterspell. I do not pay for Mog War Marshal's Echo cost, so I get a Goblin, and I get a Terminate, so that's pretty good. I figured that Satan has counterspell, so I want to get that out. So I go ahead and play the Innocent Blood. Satan does have the counterspell, so counters the Innocent Blood, but I don't mind that because next up I have Fleshbag Marauder. So since he is all tapped out, I can just play the Fleshbag Marauder, and now I can get rid of the Core Skyfisher and have a 3/1 on my side. So it's a pretty good trade. I keep my intimidating board state, and I swing in for 4 and bring Satan down to 6. and I do have lethal next turn, so he needs something here. Goes ahead and redraws with the Abundant Growth, draws into a second Abundant Growth, and the replay is not continuing, but I believe that is pretty much it. So, first game, I do win. I had a pretty aggressive start. I'm not entirely sure what Satan is playing. To me, it kind of seems just like an overall bounce value deck, so I'm kind of thinking Ephemerate, just blue, good stuff value. So I'm trying to think of my sideboard, see what I would do to bring in against this, but I do win the first game. And into the second game we go, I do take out 2 Wrangles because I did not see a lot of creatures, and I do bring in 2 red Elemental Blasts because I expect there to be a few counters being thrown around. And so we start the second game, and this is the first hand that I get. I choose not to keep it, 1 land, not very good. And this is the second hand. This is better. I see a red Elemental Blast. I have tools to deal with the board. I have a couple creatures, so I do choose to keep this. I put back the Wrangle. I don't think I'm going to need it, at least not this early. And Satan just plays a Thriving Isle, choosing white. It comes back to me, I draw an Unearth. It's kind of nice in case I run into some early removal. He plays a Preordain and then plays a Bojuka Bog, which is fantastic. I want to get that out early. I don't rely on the graveyard too much, but with the Unearths, I do splash in it for a little bit, so it's nice to be able to get the Bojuka Bog out of the way. And I draw my second red Elemental Blast, and that's nice, you know. Blue deck, 2 red Elemental Blasts, that always feels good. I do play Mortician Beetle, and I pass turn because I want the Mortician Beetle out with the Mogg War Marshal. That way, when I sacrifice the Mogg War Marshal to the Echo trigger, I will get a +1/+1 counter. He does have Cast Down, so Morty does go to the graveyard, and then he preordains to set up the next couple draws. And then it comes back to me, and I pull a Sultai Emissary. I do play the Sultai Emissary. I choose not to unearth, because if I draw another land, then I can unearth into a Mogg War Marshal, and that seems like a great play. So play the Sultai Emissary, and out comes a Muldrifter. So Muldrifter, he draws a couple cards, goes to the graveyard. I do kind of want Morty out on the battlefield when he sacrifices Muldrifter to the Evoke, but oh well. And then I go ahead, swing in the Sultai Emissary for 1, and then I play the Carrion Feeder. This is interesting looking back because I need to be more aggressive. I probably would have unearthed the Mortician Beetle. Obviously I didn't do that. That way I could keep red Elemental Blast up. But with the kill spells that I'm seeing, they're not blues, so I don't have to worry. I am worried about Fall from Favor, but even if that's the case, I do think it was the right decision to then unearth Mortician Beetle rather than keep up red Elemental Blast. So I think that was a small misplay. I could definitely improve. Satan plays a Bonder's Ornament, the $12 Pauper staple. And then I go ahead and sacrifice the Sultai Emissary. Yeah, so my gamble of keeping up the red Elemental Blast did not pay off whatsoever. And it comes back to me for another Sultai Emissary. So I swing in with the Carrion Feeder and the Manifest Creature. And he goes ahead and casts down the Carrion Feeder. That is fine because I have 2 unearths, and so I unearth the Carrion Feeder, and then I unearth the Mortician Beetle. So definitely should have done that last turn. And then Satan pulls out the Stonehorn Dignitary, and that is not what I want to see. So I skip my next combat step, and I did not sideboard in Fling, so I have no way of breaking this. And then he plays a Core Skyfisher, bouncing Stonehorn back to his hand. So at this point, I'm hoping for a Terminate. That way I could just kill it when it enters and just have it done and over with. I am stuck on 2 lands at the moment, though, so that doesn't feel great. I do play the Mogg War Marshal, create a token, and just pass because I have no combat step. So Satan replays the Stonehorn, plays another Core Skyfisher, so this is rough. Bounces the Stonehorn right back to hand, swings in for 2, and then passes back. Now, I should have sacrificed Mogg War Marshal to the Carrion Feeder at the end step. I don't think it really matters at this point, though, but yeah, still, the game's not over yet. So I should have sacrificed the Mogg War Marshal to the Carrion Feeder. Since I don't pay for it anyway, it was going to get sacrificed, and I might as well have another +1/+1 counter on the Carrion Feeder. So that was a misplay on my part. I do play the Sultai Emissary and pass back. Now, since I do see Stonehorn Dignitary, Ghostly Flicker is an option that I need to watch out for. So I actually think that playing the Mortician Beetle, or even not playing anything and just keeping up a red Elemental Blast with the Village Rites is a very good option for me here, because I need to draw into more lands, need to draw into more options, dig myself out of this lock. So I think at this point, I should have put more of an emphasis on drawing cards. So replays the Stonehorn Dignitary, and then a third Core Skyfisher. So 3 Core Skyfishers so far, bouncing back Stonehorn Dignitary. That is not what I want to see, but unfortunately it's what I'm getting. So Core Skyfishers, they come in for 4 damage, and now I sacrifice the Sultai Emissary to Carrion Feeder, grow them a little bit bigger. Perilous Mirror does not help me here. Doesn't get rid of the Core Skyfisher, doesn't get rid of the Stonehorn Dignitary, and Satan is not at a low enough life total to where I can start hitting face with these things. But I do decide to play it. I do think keeping up Village Rites and Red Elemental Blast might be the better option here, especially since I just need to dig myself out of this lock. Replay Stonehorn Dignitary, and then a second Stonehorn Dignitary. So my next 2 combat steps are completely skipped, and I am taking 6 each turn now. There is a bolt, so I do get to save myself from damage, and Satan is completely tapped out. So I do play the Mortician Beetle, and then bolt one of the Core Skyfishers, and then just go ahead and pass turn. Satan goes ahead and draws a card from the Bonder's Ornament. Most likely drew the Evolving Wilds, and then ephemerates the Stonehorn Dignitary. And basically from this point, I'm not getting another combat step before I can dig myself out of the anti-combat lock. So it's a struggle. However, I do pull another Perilous Mirror, so there is a chance of killing enough Core Skyfishers to survive, maybe a bit more. So I do Village Rites the Perilous Mirror because I have drawn 2 lands in the top 18 cards of my deck, so I do think it's about time that I hit a land. There's a decent chance that I hit a land. So if I hit a land, I can then play the land and then play the Perilous Mirror. And at this point, I just have to take a bit of a risk. So actually, I do hit face with the Perilous Mirror. I think it would have been worth it to hit a Core Skyfisher and just kind of fingers crossed that I do hit a land. It is an Ash Barrens, so since I do not hit a Core Skyfisher, I do go ahead and grab a Mountain because I have more red than black cards in my hand. I go ahead and pass the turn back. Ephemerate hits a Stonehorn Dignitary, and then Satan swings in for 4 with a Mnemonic Wall, so yikes. Now I could have countered, I should have countered the Mnemonic Wall with the Red Elemental Blast and probably just seen if I could have played it out. But I mean, odds are I was not going to win. I think I definitely could have played that better, especially now that I actually look back through it. But I think Satan played it well, hitting 3 Core Skyfishers to bounce the Stonehorn Dignitary. He's getting some of that luck back that he was missing in that first game, rolling down to 5. But I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, if he didn't draw the Core Skyfishers, could have easily drawn more copies of Ephemerate. There might be copies of Ghostly Flicker in the deck as well. So, I mean, it is what the deck is built to do. So expecting the deck not to work is just kind of not what I should be hoping for. But either way, good second game, and we're on to the third one. And into the third game, I do make one more change to the sideboard, and that is I take out 1 Perilous Mirror and bring in my single copy of Fling, because the Perilous Mirror doesn't really ping anything off that I can see, and the Fling is still a win condition for anti-combat lock. So I just have to play around that. Hopefully I can be aggressive during the early game, get kind of a fast start, and then finish off with a Fling if combat does manage to be locked. So I do choose to go first, and this is my first opening hand. I don't think there is any way I can keep this. Since I am going first, I am not drawing a card. I mean, I can play Lightning Bolt, just bolt face, and then maybe cycle away Unearth, but at that point, I'm just throwing away so many resources, and there are better hands. I think I can get better ones, so I ship it back. And this is my second opening hand. I can play Morty and a Village Rites the following turn, and it's not quite what I'm looking for. So I don't think this is a very keepable hand. There's just not a lot I can do with it. So I do ship it back. And then I get this hand, 3 Ash Barrens. This is a mold of 5, so I do keep this. I do end up keeping this, but It's a very slow start. I mean, 3 Ash Barrens. I'm basically going to be playing a turn behind for the first few turns just to catch my mana base up. But unfortunately, that's just what I have to do because I really don't want to have to go down to 4 cards. Oh boy, I have my work cut out for me. So I do bottom the Wrangle and the Village Rites. It was really difficult, but I want to be able to keep a creature. And I just played the Ash Barrens. You know you're in trouble when you play an Ash Barrens turn 1. And I go ahead and basic land cycle, grab a swamp, comes back to me, and there is a Sultai Emissary, so that's kind of nice. I do play the Carrion Feeder and then keep the other Ash Barrens up to basic land cycle the other one, and basic land cycle, grab a swamp. Probably should have grabbed a mountain just in case, but no, actually I do have Sign in Blood, so it does make sense to grab the swamp here. And Carrion Feeder goes away. And then Satan preordains, passes back to me, I play the swamp, I draw a swamp, and then I Sign in Blood myself to draw a mountain and a swamp, so I'm pretty good on lands for now. If I can just draw a gas, then I can fight my way back into the game. Satan plays a Bonder's Ornament, and then preordains, so he's doing really well right now. He's got this nice slow start that he wants, turn 3 Bonders, a couple of preordains to set up draws. He's doing well. I'm a little slow, so I do play the Mortician Beetle, followed up by the Mog War Marshal, and pass back to Satan, who screds away poor Morty, and then plays a Lone Missionary to stave off some of my early aggression that did not exist this game. Passes back to me. I do not pay the Echo cost for the Mog War Marshal, and I end up drawing a Bloodfell Cave, so ironically enough, I am starting to get mana flooded from that start, so I play the Bloodfell Caves, I gain a life, and then I swing in for 1. See if he wants to trade the 2-1 for the 1-1. Doesn't really feel like it, and I play the Sultai Emissary. Satan goes ahead and Ash Barrens for a Snow-Covered Plains. Satan plays another Bonder's Ornament, followed by Core Skyfisher, most likely bouncing back the Lone Missionary. Yep. And then replaying the Lone Missionary. So he is at a very healthy 27 life total. And I draw an Innocent Blood, which is not bad, especially since I have a Sultai Emissary out. And Satan is tapped out, so there is nothing he can do about this. In theory, I should have kept the Swamp in my hand because I don't need the extra mana at the moment. But I do play the Innocent Blood, and he does get rid of the Lone Missionary. And I manifest a Carrion Feeder, and that is quite nice. So I don't swing in with the goblins, and then Satan, not taking any chances, bolts the Carrion Feeder manifest, and there's no point in flipping it over and getting the Carrion Feeder. Even if I eat these 2 goblins, it's still going to die to the bolt, so it dies. So he just passes back to me, and I draw in Unearth. So it's kind of nice. I have an option of bringing back either a Mog War Marshal or one of my creatures, or cycling it. I do choose to cycle because if I get back any one of my creatures, it doesn't solve anything. I'm still in the exact same situation that I am before, and at this point I just need to hopefully draw into some card draw, hopefully get something. I do get a Perilous Mirror. I do swing in for 2, kind of bluffing mainly. Unfortunately, Satan does not, or he takes the risk, takes the bluff, and then I play the Perilous Mirror and just go ahead and pass turn. So I lose a goblin. It's not that big of a deal though. I'm just kind of behind at this point. I'm out of cards. Satan is at 2 cards in hand with 2 Bonder's Ornaments out, so that's a bit risky for me. And I draw another land. So that is 7 lands in the top 18. That's a little more than I want. So I swing in with the Perilous Mirror because if he blocks, I can kill the Core Skyfisher. Satan does choose to block, which I find a little surprising. So I go ahead and kill off the Skyfisher. So I think Satan could have let that through, but I don't know what's in his hands or what his game plan is. And then he does Hydroblast, the Red Goblin token, which is very aggressive. And when I was first playing, I remember thinking, what is he doing? This is really bad. But then as I thought about it more, I realized that actually it's not that bad because he can aggressively trade cards with me because he has this card draw on the field. So it's actually good for him to spend 1 card getting rid of my 1 card, because he's able to replenish his hand at a faster rate than I am, or a more consistent rate at least. So he plays Abundant Growth on the Bojuka Bog, then plays and cracks an Evolving Wilds, and then plays a Mnemonic Wall, getting back Hydroblast. So that's really not good for me. End step, passes back to me, and I get a Lightning Bolt. Doesn't really do much for me at this stage, but I play the Swamp, and I just pass turn. Out comes a Core Skyfisher, bouncing back the Abundant Growth, which he goes ahead and plays on an island, draws another card, and his deck is really starting to just kind of work, draw him cards, and gradually bump him towards that end game. So I do draw Village Rites, kind of useless at this point, but oh well. I just pass turn. At my end step, he taps and draws a card with Bonder's Ornaments, plays another Abundant Growth, plays a Thriving Isle, swings in for 2, and Zayden's just kind of taking it easy. I mean, I have no pressure on him, so he can definitely take it easy, and just passes back to me, and I get an Ash Barrens. I draw all 4 of my Ash Barrens this game. In the top, well, I guess 21. Zayden draws a card at my end step, and then preordains. And at this point, the only reason I'm playing it out is because it's the 3rd game, and it's the tournament. I might as well play it out, let Zayden show off his deck, because it's definitely working. So swings in for 2, I take 2, I Ash Barrens for a Swamp, try to clear my deck of lands, and then I do draw Red Elemental Blast, and that's not bad, because Zayden's still a little ways away from killing me, and I have a Red Elemental Blast for his Hydro Blast that I know he has. So I'm thinking like there's a very small chance I come back into this, and if I draw a creature or if I draw a Wrangle, something that I can sacrifice to Village Rites to draw a couple cards, then it's starting to look like maybe there's some way I can put up some final offense, although I mean he's at 30 life right now. That's quite high. Comes back to me, I draw Bloodfell Caves. I'm like, darn. So I just pass back. I should have played the Bloodfell Caves, especially since they come in tapped, but oh well. And Zayden draws 2 cards with each of his Bonder's Ornaments, so he's doing really well. Back up to a full hand, swings in for 4. I am down to 7, and then taps some for Mole Drifter, bringing his total to 8 cards in hand, plays a Mountain, and then a Core Skyfisher. Bouncing back an Abundant Growth, playing the Abundant Growth, and really, I mean, Zayden only has 22 cards left in his library, so at this point, maybe I can mill him out. I know I can't, but, maybe I can. No, I can't. At this point, I need to start clearing his board a little bit, kind of test what he's willing to save. So I do Lightning Bolt, and he does not save it with the Hydroblast. That's probably for the best. Which also tells me that he most likely does not have an abundance of answers in his hand either. So, maybe I might be able to sneak something past him with the Red Elemental Blast. And it comes back to me and I get Wrangle. And I'm thinking, okay, I have to do something here. This is going to be my only shot. So I go ahead and I attempt a Wrangle on the Core Skyfisher. And Zayden Hydroblast my Wrangle, which is exactly what I was expecting. And then I Red Elemental Blast the Hydroblast. And then Zayden abrades his own Skyfisher. And I thought this was very interesting because he has 30 life. He can take the damage. But we were chatting a little bit after the match, and Zayden said, the only reason I did it was because what if you had Village Rites in your hand? Like, it probably wasn't the right move, but I was thinking, like, if you had Village Rites or something. I was like, that's exactly what I had in my hands. So Zayden initially thought that, he was maybe just being a little paranoid, but, he was not. I do have Village Rites, and it is my only ticket back into this game. So I think Zayden made the right call by getting rid of the Abrade, especially since he had no more counters left in hand, as evident by the Abrade. So I think overall he made the right choice. It was a very aggressive trade, but as I said before, he's got his engine running, and he can draw cards, replace cards, and everything. So he's not worried. He's not the one in the hot seat. So I take 4 more, and I need something this turn, otherwise I am dead. He Pulse of Marasas back a Core Skyfisher, and then bounces back and replays the Mole Drifter. Cycles the Ash Barrens. And Zayden is down to 18 cards in his library. He has drawn so many. I'm at 34 for reference. I draw Terminate. I get rid of the Core Skyfisher. It does not matter. I'm still at lethal, and he swings in to kill me. So, unfortunately, I do lose this match. I am 1-2 at the moment, but I did get quite mana flooded, and the triple Ash Baron start after mulling down to 5, I have to admit was not the best start that I was hoping for. But I think Satan played it really well, especially upbraiding his own core Skyfisher just in case I had a Village Rites, which it turns out is exactly what I had. So I think Satan played it well. I definitely could have cleaned up my play a little bit. I don't know if there's much else I could have done the third game, but I feel like the second game I could have definitely cleaned up my play a little bit, and maybe that would have turned out a little differently. But either way, GG's. And if you want to check out his channel, link is in the description, as well as my deck list, and in case Satan posts his side, that will also be in the description as well. In addition to the Pauper Guild Discord link, in case you want to come hang out, chat about Pauper with some nice friendly folk. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. But now, if you'll excuse me, I'm removing all 4 Ash Barons from the deck and replacing them with 4 Pyroblasts. Bye!